Can you say hard hats, folks? Hard hats, lunch pail, steel toe boots?
Anything short of a championship this year is a failure.
Look at this boomer right here.
You've just got so much talent here.
Somebody said we need to apologize for Jalen.
Can I close it, John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do?
There's a lot to apologize for tonight, Jimmy.
Not us.
Yeah.
The team needs to apologize for taking the court.
The team needs to apologize to us and to Bobby.
Yep.
Who went out there on an overnight flight. I think the Patriots need to apologize to Amit.
Patriots do need, for keeping him up.
For me blowing up his phone at 7:22.
After he went to bed at 6.
Amit!
Belichick needs to apologize to Patriots fans for the last 5 years.
Ooh.
It's something that I'm not going to forget.
And fans will, and the people in the chat will apologize to you now for anything we might say anything that we're going to say that might upset you.
Yeah, this is not going to be.
TNT had to apologize to its viewers for
TNT.
the games that they had to put up there, and they decided they just stopped.
They were like, we're not going to watch Banton and Svi, and all these other guys that Celtics fans don't even half the time want to watch. We're not going to subject our national audience to that. And then they put on a game that was a 20-point blowout instead of 30.
What's the opposite of a hard hat game, Jimmy? Would you wear know?
That's a really good question.
Yeah,
I think it's what do they call it when there's just a safety code violation on the job scene?
I don't know.
There's something. There's a violation going on.
Don't you work in this industry?
Yeah, I'm just blanking on it right now. I got my Celtics hat on right now. I don't have my hard hat on right now. But yeah, there's definitely a strike on the Celtics for the tonight.
We're gonna talk about this game for 30 seconds, but I'll ask you outright.
There's a really hold on real quick. There's a really I don't even know how to explain how to find it, but on Instagram there's a really funny video going around of this guy who is his job is construction supervisor, and then it's a picture of this dude or a video of this dude, and then they cut to a bunch of footage of people on construction sites that are screwing up, and it's so funny. Just figure out a way to search it on Instagram. Just type in construction supervisor on the search and you will laugh. It's a 3-minute video. It's done very well.
Yeah.
No hard hats.
Okay. All right.
Sorry. And that's the show.
That's it. So look, here's what I don't want to do.
violation. Thank you, Nick Berry.
There it is.
violation.
Here's the thing. Here's what I don't want to do. Can we make a pact? You, me, and everyone currently in the chat. Okay.
Okay.
Here's the pact. I don't want to do the one side yelling about how bad they were and they should have been up for this game and what the hell, it's still the Bucks and you're professionals and you get paid all this money. And I don't want the other side doing the back-to-backs, what would you expect? Okay, I can't do this all night.
What side are you? I'll just agree with you and we can move on.
Well, I'm not on a side in the sense, here's what I will say. I don't understand why TNT would do this. Why the league would schedule premium teams like the Celtics and the Bucks and have the Celtics play on a back-to-back and travel the second night of a back-to-back on the road. Why you would do that when you're sitting and complaining? My target is the league and TNT. Not that you couldn't play well on the second night of a back-to-back, but you're inviting a slop fest. And you've told them you can't be sitting your starters on stuff like this. So what do? They go in there, they chuck a couple threes, they realize they don't have it. They're like, yeah, all set, peace out, scheduled loss. They sit in the second half, and it's the worst thing. It's the biggest friggin' disgrace and embarrassment. So if you want entertainment, don't do that. That's it. Yeah. I'm not going to get in on the Celtics and they all sucked collectively. friggin' crumple it up, throw it in the trash, flush it, done. I don't give a crap about the game. I have nothing to say about the game. I'm not making excuses for their performance. We all saw what happened. It happened. It has happened. I don't understand why the league does this. I find it stupid. If you want these two marquee teams to play in a good game, arrange the schedule in a way that maximizes the probability that you're going to have a good game. That being said, I will ask your opinion on your take on it.
Wow.
Is it an excuse that they played the back-to-back for how bad this was?
Yes, it's an excuse. I don't care. I don't care. I mean, it wasn't too long ago, and it was for a reason. They were doing back-to-backs because of the lockout. And we didn't see performances as bad. Now, what you're saying is true. They put teams in a tough position to compete at the level that they can compete on a national
and like I said,
scale.
This is a good point. The Wolves played their asses off with travel problems on the second night of a back-to-back on the road. It's not an excuse. The Celtics could have played well. Absolutely not an excuse. I just think you want
They
opportunities.
gave up. I mean, John, it's pretty simple. The shots didn't fall. This was a game where the 3-pointers needed to fall early to keep it close. They did not fall. I think I saw at one point 1 of 11, and it got worse from there. It was one of those games where there was no fight. It was the total opposite of what we saw in the second half or the fourth quarter of last night's game. I think the Celtics team, again, took this one off. And you're either okay with it or you're not. And in the grand scheme of things, it might not mean a whole lot. It's 1 of 82, and we know that if you go balls to the walls for the regular season and put yourself in a top seed, if that's what you sell out for, and you flop in the playoffs, then it was all for nothing. So in one sense, okay, they're not going to completely drain themselves, and the NBA did F them maybe in some capacity.
It's not an excuse. It's just dumb. We want entertainment. I want to be entertained.
Well, there's two different sides of the argument.
So I just want to maximize the likelihood of entertainment. There's no excuse. The Celtics played like chumps. It's embarrassing. They
gave up. I mean, their coach
embarrassed
bailed
themselves
them
on
out.
national television. The broadcast bailed on the freaking game.
I don't think I've seen that before.
So yes, the Celtics embarrassed themselves tonight.
They were embarrassed, and honestly,
they're going to have to eat it.
I can't tell if what Joe did was more embarrassing or less embarrassing by just starting the bench to start the game. To start the second half. I mean, the starters were playing so poorly where if Joe wanted to, he could have just hung them out to dry a little bit longer out there. But for whatever reason, maybe it was because of rest. Maybe it was because he didn't want to do something stupid. Because who's going to get the blame? The same people who are complaining that, they benched him too early or that they didn't try. The same people would be saying, how could Joe be so stupid to keep Tatum in the game with, down 30 with 4 minutes left in the third quarter and on the second night of a back-to-back? What's up?
Who took Gelso's phone and is doing this right now?
Oh yeah,
this isn't real Nick.
That's not real Nick.
That's not real Nick.
Doppelganger.
That's not real Nick.
No, so I mean, I can see it from multiple, I can see different perspectives, but this is an embarrassing loss as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they punked themselves. They looked stupid. The Bucks came out with something to prove. The Celtics came out like, let's see if the threes fall, and if they do, I'll decide to try later. And they got they got punked. They looked stupid. They looked really bad on national TV.
I mean,
and Joe's gonna be like, I'm not mad at all, and it'll be a shoulder shrug game, and fans will get annoyed, and some rightfully so. They looked stupid. I hope they I hope they eat it a little bit. Like, well, that was embarrassing. It's an embarrassing loss.
I think a lot of people thought that they could easily lose this game, and the Bucks were favorites going into this game. But the Bucks were 2.5-point favorites, and what that means to me is, okay, the Celtics lose this game. We're not going to sit here and panic about it for 45 minutes. But when you lose the way you did, it's just, I mean, again, you don't want to. It's 1 of 82, and you're not going to sit here and cry for an hour about it, although we might. But
positive, Nick.
You want to show up at least. I mean, it goes back to having some pride, having some self-respect. I mean, teams are going to, once in a while, they are going to have those stinkers. They are going to get blown out. We saw it last year against Oklahoma City. That was a shocker. But this is a game against a team that is your Eastern Conference rival. There's a lot of, back and forth, win some, you lose some type moments between these two. And and again, the Bucks had what, three nights off or 2 nights off before this one. So they're at home. They're coming in with all the rest. This is a game where if you are a gambler, you probably hammered the Bucks.
Yeah.
But you still hate the way the Celtics came out. You hate the fact that they didn't even come out in the second half. They waved the white flag. And yeah, it would have been an improbable comeback. But would it have killed them to put the starters back out there for the first 4 or 5 minutes and see, what they have? Maybe all of a sudden it's a 18-point game and then you've got plenty of time. It's the NBA. Those comebacks happen all the time. And I understand that this was a huge deficit. What was it at halftime, John? It was like 38-80 or something, 75, something like that. Something wild. It was like a 37-point.
I joined this game late and I watched it like kind of, skipping through. So I was just, it was so obvious where this.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't have to pay attention. And that's the other thing. You didn't even have to pay attention.
It was so obvious where this was going fairly early. So again, I may whip myself into a frenzy by the end of this show, completely change my opinion and go crazy and say like, these friggin' losers. But like, I'm kind of in the camp of, it's not an excuse, but you open up the possibility when you schedule these games that the team's going to come out flat. Bucks came out scorching hot and wanting to make a point. And those two things, when they met together, resulted in really just getting run off the court early. And it was over before they had a chance to even kind of decide whether they wanted to play. And that was it. It was awful. It's atrocious. And absolutely, people who are mad, I get it. But like, we know both sides of it. There's going to be a faction of people who are furious and think, just show up and play. You're friggin' professionals. This is the schedule. Deal with it. You're not the only team that plays back-to-backs, second night of back-to-backs, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And then there'll be others who'll say,
like where
there'll be others who don't care. The reality is, show up and play. That's what you're paid to do. It's embarrassing. This is the number 2 team in the conference. And if you have any pride, you probably should have showed up and tried a little bit harder than this and not just coasted and been like, let's see what happens. You can't do that against a team like that. But also, who friggin' cares? I don't believe that this win has any bearing on what's going to happen down the road. I know some people will be like, I don't know. They do this stuff in the playoffs. They do. But I think this collective group has earned enough this year where they haven't really laid down and they've fought back in games and they haven't had a lot of these sorts of stinkers. So like, I'm okay to excuse it, though I really wish they had come out and played different. And I think every bit of shame and embarrassment that they might feel off of this is deserved. And I hope it lingers for a little bit.
I don't think they will for some reason. I'm not getting the vibe that they care.
They might not. They might be like, whatever. It happened.
Yeah. I mean, again, at the end of the day, it's one. You don't want this, this isn't a pattern. But this isn't what happens to. I don't even want to go there. But it's just not. How do you say? It's not becoming of a championship team.
I agree with Judah. Judah. This is one thing that I think home fans do, not Celtics fans. The home fans do, Jimmy. Overreact to the thing that your team does without the perspective that it's every team. Okay, the Bucks got run out by. You see it all the time. Like, teams getting blown out by teams that you would never expect. Even
this felt a little different, though, John. I mean, rarely do you bench your entire team for the entire second half. I mean, rarely does that happen.
So I'm curious. Jimmy.
Yeah.
Do you think Joe did that because it was like, whatever, shoulder shrug, it just wasn't our night? Or you think he did it to like send a message and like?
That's what I can't quite figure out. I'm wondering if he's brought it up after the game to reporters. I know Bobby's there, and we can ask Bobby what Joe's sort of mentality was. But I just briefly on Twitter saw it. It seemed like Joe was taking the chalk it up to a game. It happens type of thing. So I almost feel like, and this is a little bit surprising to me because I thought Joe would be on the more like, F you guys, I'm going to stick you back out there. I mean, we've certainly seen him let players play through shitty performances before. He'll swallow his timeouts all game and watch guys try to figure it out on their own. But on a night where they couldn't figure it out from the start, he kind of throws him a life raft and kind of, it's almost like you're getting booed off the stage. in a way.
Yeah.
You're bombing so badly. So many tomatoes are being thrown at you
Yeah.
where you just can't recover, and you just have to pull this person off the stage. And, the sideshow clown comes back out instead.
Bucks recently lost to the Rockets.
No offense to the Stay Ready crew.
Yeah. Bucks lost to the Rockets and at home to the Jazz recently. So, again.
Losses happen. It's not it. But
yeah,
it's just for some. I mean, if you watched, there's something about this performance. It felt like they went into it being like, if the threes fall, great. If they don't, like, we're out of it. We're not working for anything tonight. That's kind of how it felt.
I hate that too. And you know what? Here's what bugs me more. I felt like it was almost team wide, which is almost slightly better than it just being like everyone came to play, but Tatum was just like, I'm just going to chuck, and those games drive me more nuts when it's like the one player or the star that you're counting on. In this game, I don't remember a single thing Tatum did. Like, I don't even, it was collectively just, chuck it. Brown was just chucking. Everybody was just chucking. Holiday, another, like, what's the opposite of a revenge game? Because Holiday's now got 2 of them under his belt with Milwaukee. He's dropping spicy comments, prior to the game. Spicy.
According to some people, spicy.
He just said, I get it. He was in a better place. He just said it so fast I didn't even pick up on it. But he's trying to take teeny jabs at the Bucks. He's going out and playing like ass.
We got some Missoula quotes that Ahmed sent us from Bobby. Bobby's on the scene over there in Milwaukee. Missoula, we just didn't have it tonight. You can actually use it as opportunities, perspective when you take a deep breath. Missoula, again, our guys bring it every single night. It's not always going to go our way. Yikes. I don't even like those quotes. But again, am I going to sit here and boomer rage for an hour? If these guys, honestly, John, this is how I feel. They don't give a shit. I'm not going to sit here and give a shit.
That's what he says. Here's the thing. I think people misread this stuff. I've made a living off of trying to extrapolate. What do they mean when they say this? I think Joe is of the camp. I'm not calling out my players publicly, but he might undress them in the film room off of this, or he may just flush it.
Barely any film.
He may actually, or he might say, we're never looking at that again, and then you just move on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how you can look at it unless you really just want to say you're a piece of shit.
But after bad performances, not like this one, I would imagine he gets his pound of flesh, in practice and in the film room. This is one of those where he's probably just going to flush the whole thing.
I don't know how else you could. I mean, this is a good film on what not to do. If that's what here's what happens when you don't. Here's what happens when you don't do what we kind of tell you guys to do, and here are the results. If it was against a trash team, I would even be less mad about it. It's against a team that you're probably going to see in the playoffs. I mean, you're the 1 and they're the 2, or vice versa. Theoretically, you're supposed to meet at some point. So I just don't like giving the opposing team that much, chest puffing. You know what I mean? I mean, they're flexing all over you. Brook Lopez is hitting threes. Giannis is dunking on you, and he's giving you the scowl. I mean, and I like, it's just, who likes that? Who, outside of Milwaukee, I mean, if you're a Celtics fan, like, you don't want to see that stuff.
Yeah.
So I get it. You can't bring it every night. It's not always going to go your way. Yada, yada, yada. All the things. I get it. Oh, there's lessons to be learned in losses. I get it. I'm not an idiot. I understand all that. That being said, it's better if you don't get blown out with like 6 minutes to go in the second quarter and then bench all your starters because, I don't know, either they're that bad or you just want to rest them and you're just chalking it up to that. To your point, John, NBA hung them up. NBA kind of screwed them, I guess, with the schedule there. They've had a tough run, but we've all said, it's going to be a tough schedule coming up here. You've got Milwaukee. You've got Indiana twice, then you've got Minnesota, then you've got Milwaukee. That doesn't mean take a game off. That means you got a hard effing schedule. Hard hats, steel-toed boots, lunch pails. That's what it's all about. It's not, I'm going to call out of work today because I've had a tough week. Oh, I'm going to take Thursday off because, I worked late on Wednesday. So I'm actually going to take Thursday off, boss. That's not what it's all about. If you have a tough week of work, you show up ready for a tough week of work. That's kind of where I'm at with it. So I'm embarrassed if I'm a Celtics fan or if I'm the Celtics. I'm embarrassed. Now, I don't know if that's how they feel. And maybe they can just brush it off and they'll beat the Rockets by 40 on Saturday and nobody will care about this game. But for right now, for tonight, I don't know how I mean, I guess you can just ignore it. Like you could ignore a bunch of things in your life and just be like, oh, that's okay. Yeah, whatever. Chalk it up to a bad day. Sure, if you can live your life that way, all power to you. Ignorance is bliss. But for some people, that matters. And
Yep.
and that's also like building good habits and things like that. And again, yes, it's one game, but I just don't like the idea that can happen.
Yeah. Fair enough. I get it. And like I said,
It's fraudulent.
I may whip myself into that lather too, but I'm also just cognizant of the fact that it's every team does this from time to time. So I don't know why it's a big deal just with this team. And I have to keep reminding myself that because it's easy to have an emotional reaction. Want to give a shout out to Easy E. That's a brother that'll smother your mother and make your sister think I love her.
Wow.
Last year, this game would have really worried me. The team is different. I have faith. I'm kind of here too. I think they've shown enough non-lazy, non-mail-it-in, non-collapsing moments. And even in games where they do have lapses, like they did at Minnesota last night, I remember the Heat earlier in the year. They've turned it around and made winning plays late and played some good ball. So I think you got to give them props for that. I think you got to give them some props. Yes, no Mayo, and I don't want Vrabel either. I want new blood. I want big, bold strokes. That's 100% what I want.
Are we transitioning to Pat?
No,
I'll do it.
So, Jimmy, you know that thing where you give me crap when you say I miss super chats and then I leave one on the screen for 30 minutes and you talk through the whole thing and don't acknowledge the super chat?
I didn't notice it.
I'm trying to throw them up there for the people who are contributing to your kitty.
I'm Mayo. I'm Team Mayo.
We're going to get into the Belichick stuff. No, I am not a Mayo guy.
Put Mayo on everything.
No, I take that back. I love Sherrod Mayo. I love Mike Vrabel. I want to flush it all and start anew. I want it all different. That being said, I think the players love Mayo, and that's good. I also don't think that the coach is important. Whoever they bring in as coach is going to be worse than the guy they fired. What matters is who's making the personnel decisions, because that's their problem right now. So we're too hung up on who the coach is. The coach will be worse than the last coach, guaranteed. Next, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
But the coach and the GM obviously work hand in hand a lot together too. So you can't just say a coach doesn't matter. But I think Mayo, I don't even want to get into it right now. I'm going to wait.
We're going to wait. We'll get to Patriots talk. We'll give you guys enough of a heads up, and you guys don't like it, you can leave.
I don't even have much more time on this game, John. I pretty much said my piece. What are we going to do? Break down the freaking X's and O's of this one?
What I'm going to say this is, O'Shea Brissett has friggin' hops, dude. I am,
That's one thing he's got.
He can jump.
It's good that he can jump because he can't shoot.
He cannot. But he can jump, man.
He can jump.
That's all I got.
Yeah, and that was talking O'Shea Brissett.
That was O'Shea Brissett. Hey, guys, you guys want us to talk Jalen? Should we talk Jalen? Yeah. Where's Louise from last night? 740 comments. I put her in timeout. She gets out of it 1 second out of jail. As soon as she gets sprung, are you guys talking about Jalen yet?
Yeah, that's not going to get us to talk about him.
Yeah.
I'll give Jalen more props than I'll give Tatum tonight, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both very, very low on the totem pole tonight, but if I have to criticize one over the other, I'll criticize Tatum more than Brown because Tatum wants to be that superstar, top 5 MVP.
Yeah.
I think these are the games where there comes a point in an NBA player or NFL player, baseball player, superstar athlete where you have an obligation to show up every single game that you're playing in because you're the ticket. People are paying a lot of money to see you. There is probably a lot of fans in that building tonight that their favorite player was Jason Tatum. And he just said, I'm calling out of work. So, like LeBron James, say whatever you want about him. He gets it. He knows that it's more than just playing, basketball. It's like an obligation. So I'm not saying Jason Tatum's there yet, and this is an example of him not being there. And I don't want to go on and on and on about the disappointment of the game, but this was just a bad one.
You're saying that
And then I am. Yeah, I know.
but you know what?
Because
Though,
I'm
Jimmy?
catching myself.
I know. I'm not going to talk about it 20 minutes later.
Well, no, I mean, I think when you're a superstar player, you got to put together a better performance than you did tonight. I mean, it wasn't just like he didn't have it. It was just like he just literally didn't show up tonight. So,
Yeah.
like, that to me is the unacceptable part. Everyone's going to have a bad shooting night or an off night.
Jalen lover right here.
There she is.
Louise came at me last night. Not going to lie, Louise, I kind of I didn't move the conversation to Jalen because of you.
Love that. Spite.
Nah, it was more
How about this?
It was more playful than anything. It wasn't that.
Talk about Thanasis.
Thanasi.
This is a game. This is Thanasis' type of game, man. I mean, say what you want about Thanasis, but he brings it out there every time he plays.
Yeah.
He brings it all right. I mean, he brings everything wrong. I can't believe he's still in the league, but he brings it.
That guy can barely walk. Like, he's one of the goofiest dudes I've ever seen.
He's a goofball. He's actually kind of a clown, to be honest.
He legit. He's the type of guy who would like trip and like seriously injure himself. Just like walking up the stairs. Like, he's goofy as hell.
But he's also crazy. He'll snap. I think.
Do you question Tatum's dog?
What kind of dogs he got?
I always question Tatum's dog.
We talking corgi? We talking retriever? What do we got?
I'm a pug man.
You're a pug man?
I love pugs.
You just outed yourself, my friend.
It's weird, right?
That's really weird.
I love their little tragic faces.
I have a couple aunts
when they look at you,
breeded pugs, and so I've been around pugs all my life. I gotta say, I'm kind of done with pugs. It's the smell. It's the breathing. It's that thing. Yeah. It's the constant snorting. I'm a corgi guy, personally.
Yeah.
Happiest dogs.
I'm the guy who'd rather you.
I'm
have
a Luna guy. Team Luna. Would you say?
I'm the guy who wants you to have a dog and not me to have a dog. Like, I'm the fun uncle. Sure. I'm the fun uncle of dog owners. You know, like. Yeah. I don't want kids. I don't want the kids, but I'll be nice to your kids. Like, I'll pat your dog. I'll even grab me the little tennis ball thingy, and I'll impress you by how far I can whip it across the field.
Right.
And you'll be like, "Wow, I can't throw it that far."
But
and I'll be like,
I
know.
Here's
I'm
your dog
freaking
back.
Awesome, but here's your dog back, right?
Yeah. I'll take him for a walk. A couple girls might come up and be like, "Oh my god, I love your dog." Thanks. Yeah, his name is Fido or whatever. And then here's your dog back.
Yeah.
But
take your dog.
Yeah.
And also, don't assume I like your dog just because you like your dog, because I don't always like your dog.
Yeah. Also, I'll say this: like, make sure your dog is cool. Like, do the work. Do the work. When you get the dog, do the work.
Yeah.
So that it's a cool dog and it's nice to other dogs and other people. You can walk it. It's playful. Just do the work. Don't get a dog and just like screw it off for 6 months, and then it's too late because you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Now, do I question Tatum's dog? Not because of this game. I will say over the last year, he's got more dog in him. I like the kiss of death. I like, some of the moves he starts to make now. He's more physical than he used to be. He's not just settling for only step back jumpers. So I like that more. I do think he has more dog in him, but I don't think he has gotten to like alpha dog status yet.
My Tatum dog vibes were always, I think he has a generally kind of sleepy demeanor.
Yeah.
Which I wish he didn't, because I do think sometimes being demonstrative helps lift others around you. It's harder to go by, guys. And I do think there's some passivity, or sometimes where he's trying to feel his way around what he wants to be at that moment in a game. And sometimes he has the slow starts. And he's not sure whether he should just start to take it or be deferential. Sometimes it looks like he's kind of not into it. And, I don't know that I think he's always more struggled to, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to shoot all the time? Or what do you guys want here? Sometimes it's hard figuring it. He said it openly, like, I'm kind of trying to figure out, like, sometimes I got to take it, sometimes not. And that's really what it comes down to him. I know sometimes people want to like just take the ball and dominate, which he did against Minnesota in the fourth quarter and overtime last game. I guess that's what people call dog. But also when he does that, the shots aren't falling. Everybody's like, dude, chill. You got all these good players around you. You don't have to be that guy. So I think the dog stuff is more superficial than it is his actual mentality to win and whether or not he's competitive. But you'd still like to see him like, just I think also the complaining and that stuff retracts from dogness. I'm just going to quickly on this
answer
comment.
this.
I'm going to answer this question. Look, I said you flush this game because it's the second of a back-to-back against a good team, and they got down so early that there really was no coming back from it. So at that point, total capitulation was understandable. It snowballed so fast that before they had a chance to figure out whether they wanted to get into it, they were already done. Yeah, sure. You get multiple days rest and an inferior team comes into the Garden and whoops your ass, you're going to feel worse. All the bad losses count. I just think this one is understandable, even though we would have rather seen a different result. And it's no excuse, but it is fine. Why is Cornette on the thumbnail? He is. I think it's because he played a lot and Amit has a sense of humor, if I had to guess.
I'll say this: if they lose this badly to the Rockets, yeah, they're gonna get ripped to the high heavens. I'll say that because that means Ime punked you. That means big bad Ime, the boogeyman, came in and spanked you. He bent you over his knee and he spanked all his kids.
Somebody call the Herald or a tabloid here. We had Tatum's dog assaulted one of our viewers.
That's messed up. How about this, John? This guy knows you. This is something that you would say.
No, but it's just like, it's the whole nobody likes your kids. Like,
yeah,
nobody likes your dog. Like, it's not okay if your dog comes up and just jumps on my, jumps up me
jumps
and licks
up.
me.
Yeah.
And again, it's, and the owner's like, it's fine. He's friendly. I don't give a crap. I'm friendly. Like, you don't want me jumping up on you either. Like, why do you think I want this? People are so dumb about that.
Yeah. People who think their dogs are their kids. That's tough too.
Honest opinion, if Jason Tatum shelling out that contract money here, if this were a home game, would they have tried? I'm not going to act like the undefeated thing isn't in their minds. Maybe, sure. Maybe.
If this is a home game, there's no way they're benching the starters in this.
They still should have tried.
No shit.
They still should have tried. Yeah.
I'm not talking about it anymore. I've already said way too much. Jack
I know everybody hates pugs. I can't explain it. Leave me alone.
What about
they're inbred, they shed, they're snorty, they have short lifespans. They're not great. They're not great dogs. They're a little too energetic and hyper, but they're cute as hell and they're lovable and they're loyal. And I've always had an affinity
they're loyal.
For them. Just leave
you act
me
like
alone.
Dogs aren't loyal. Like
dogs
every freaking dog's loyal, man.
Dogs are
just
sluts.
Want food. Yeah.
Dogs are sluts. Like, dogs like everybody. If like the owner left and a stranger came in 3 days, the dog would be like, you're awesome. You're just like the other guy. Like, they don't care. They're not loyal to you.
I'd like to not believe that.
They just want the attention.
John confirmed cat guy, apparently.
I am a cat guy. You got to work to get a cat to like you.
Totally. But a cat might go its entire life and not like you. You might just fail in the end.
I've seen that. I did have a great cat.
John's like, I've lived that.
No, I had a great cat. Great cat.
I actually would like cats, but I am unfortunately allergic to cats. I found that out the hard way. Rescued a cat. Literally rescued it. Not like went to the store and got one. I rescued a cat like from being it was just an abandoned cat.
Yeah.
Took it in from like the outside, took it in, and then for like a month I had like runny itchy eyes, runny nose. And finally my parents like, you might be allergic to cats. I'm like, I was a younger kid.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys let me suffer for a month before you decided that it might be what it is. But yeah, I found out the hard way. So unfortunately,
I also
itchy eyes, man. Nothing worse.
My first cat, we took in a stray in college. It was it was somebody's house cat. that I moved houses or just friggin' tenants changed. The cat was still there, and the cat just kind of was like, I guess I live with you guys now. And he just came over, and we named him Tito. And then we found
Nice.
out we found out on the last day of college when there was like senior stuff and people were playing. Actually, G Love was playing.
Nice. I like G Love. He
Like
was playing when you were in college?
in the backyard of somebody's house because he knew the people there. We were just hanging with G Love, and the owners 2 houses down saw our cat, and they're like, "It's Boris," and we're like, "Who the fuck is Boris?" And they're like, "It's this cat. He was our cat like a year ago."
It's our cat, man.
And I think they had adopted him from whoever else lost. He was just changing owners year to year.
He's just chilling. He's just the college cat.
Yeah, he's a college cat. But yeah, we're hanging with G Love, and we found Tito / Boris's real owner, and that's what happened.
Love that. Boris. That's a hell of a name. I named my cat Spooky because he was a black cat.
Yeah. There you go.
You know, lucky you do.
I definitely like him. I miss Tito.
So here's the thing. If they were arrested, they would have won. Calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. I am calm. Hate when people say that. Calm down.
The worst thing you could say to someone is relax.
Totally, especially girls.
Yeah, relax. Here's this guy, Bobby.
He is no relax in him. There he is, folks. Boston last night, Milwaukee tonight. I tell you what, the Celtics may have taken the night off, but Bobby Manning doesn't even know what that means.
Celtics fan poll: who's the tiredest, Bobby or Amit?
Gotta be Amit.
Really?
Always Amit. Yeah.
I
slept on the plane.
But to be fair,
There you go.
Amit at his peppiest sounds like he hasn't slept in 7 days.
Bobby, I have some bad news. Your flight's canceled.
Yeah. That's tough. On
before-
top of this really being the worst.
What are you gonna do in
Celtics
Milwaukee
game.
for another day? Sounds horrible, dude.
Might go to Chicago. We'll see.
Ask Taylor and Amit about their Milwaukee
I
experience.
can't think
They
of.
didn't love it.
Probably must be a top
Oh, no,
5
there
worst
was
city to be stuck in for an extra day. Milwaukee. Ugh.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
bracing
dude.
for this. I wasn't expecting this.
I'll raise
kinda
you.
game,
I'll
though.
raise you a St. Louis and a Cleveland.
Ooh, I said top 5 though, so that's still those are Cleveland might not be too bad.
I don't know. I haven't been to Cleveland in a while because I never wanted to go.
I
again
did
after
Columbus.
last
I had a
time.
blast in Columbus, but that's probably different than Cleveland.
Real quick, that's not what I want to talk about. I really got to quickly give a shout out. No,
LinkedIn.
this one.
Come on down.
Quick shout out to our sponsor, FanDuel. The boys over at FanDuel running this special right now, 150 in bonus bets when you place a $5 bet. No yawning.
Bobby, what did you read,
FanDuel.com.
dude?
FanDuel.com/Boston. If you go there and sign up, take advantage of that special offer. All you got to do is deposit 10, bet 5. When you go to FanDuel.com, the official partner of the NFL and the official wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network, restrictions do apply. And again, I do want to point out these are bonus bets. It's not actual money, but you can use these bonus bets to place actual bets that will win you actual money. So you really basically get a free crack at it here with this offer. So again, FanDuel.com/Boston, 150 in bonus bets when you get in on the action. Want to tell you also about HelloFresh. Bobby Muffin's getting free breakfast every single time he orders because he took advantage of this offer. HelloFresh.com/CLNS free means free breakfast items for life. You use the code CLNS free every single time you order a HelloFresh box or a meal kit. They will include breakfast items along with whatever you order for free. So again, HelloFresh.com. That breakfast is coming to you forever. Take advantage of it now in the new year here. Customize your menu. Get farm fresh ingredients delivered to your door. Decide what you want. Read the menu cards. 15 minutes later, you've whipped up a nice restaurant quality meal at a fraction of the price. HelloFresh.com/CLNS free. Bobby, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bothered are you by the Celtics kind of no-show tonight?
On a scale of 5 to 10?
No, I didn't say 5. Who says that?
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this one.
Wait.
I think you lean to.
Where are you on this?
You know where I am. Look at me. right there.
So with this game,
I was
You're
on the
there?
other side, but you guys have pinned me where I am.
where are you,
I-
Bobby?
I'm curious about it.
That's a good one too.
I love that one.
Here's the deal.
Look at me with my haircut.
Here's the deal. Teams
Josue.
Josue is like, what the F did you just say?
teams play back-to-backs. Teams occasionally play 5 games in 7 days. This typically doesn't happen. This was a weird game, not only for the fact that they threw in the towel at halftime, but also for the fact that they really didn't perform at all in that first half in any manner. You got a few good stretches from O'Shea Brissett there, and the bench was a little better than the starters there. But in this game where, John, if they sat everybody and this happened, all right, it's rest, schedule loss. But
This is hurtful, by the way.
But they came in and played everybody and intended to compete in this game, and to fall down 10-2 and see that expand to the halftime lead. And
did you give me a number?
No, he didn't. He's just talking.
This is filibustering. How
Pick a number, you coward.
I mean, I agree with
I'll
you.
go
Bobby.
right in the middle at 5.
Hot take alert. That'll move the needle.
I mean, what information
so none of this matters.
No.
What
Bobby,
information do I have, Jimmy, to say that this is gonna be an issue going
Middle
forward?
Manning.
I don't have any.
What
So-
we got to have information now?
All season.
If I needed information, I wouldn't say shit for
all season.
45
This
minutes
team,
every show.
all season, this team earned the benefit of the doubt in terms of what they've done to this point, their consistency, their competitiveness. So I can't go off one game. Everybody gets blown out like this a couple times a year.
Bobby,
right?
I'm with you, buddy. That's kind of where I was. I think they still embarrassed themselves, and I think they should have shown up, but I'm also not concerned.
When you intend to show
I'm
up,
not
you need to
concerned
show up.
either. I think it's two different questions. I don't think people are concerned because they lost the game. I think it's just embarrassing and discouraging the way that they showed up or didn't show up tonight. Like, it's still a game. It's still on the schedule. And Bobby, one of the things I said was, like, we talk about, they have a really tough schedule coming up. They've got two against Indiana. They've got Minnesota. They've got Milwaukee. That doesn't mean just take one of those games off. That means you have a hard schedule coming up.
What I don't get is what I'll say is this. You traveled, everybody. You knew you were sitting out. You sent your starters, and they went there to Milwaukee.
You intended to compete.
And the starters just got out there and were like, nah. So, if you decided, we'll mix and match, we'll give the bench guys, the stay ready crew some reps. We're doing this. We're going to try them, Jalen's going to eat it tonight and he's going to carry the load along with this. Or, you know what? I'll rest Jalen because Jason sat the other night, and we'll do that. And we'll go half our starters. And, if we're in it, great. And if not, we'll peel it back. That's fine. But you sent everybody, which I think is a little odd. That almost did they have a team meeting beforehand? And we're like, we're not trying, right?
Hey,
Everyone's
guys,
like, no.
Yeah. Little nod, little winking and nod to everybody.
Definitely not.
Yeah. Feels that way.
That's what's weird.
It was
to
a
me.
bizarre game. So your antenna's up, John, right? Like, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah.
But beyond
Bobby.
it being a weird game, it's tough to forecast what this could lead to for me.
Have they given up on an entire game this year, start to finish?
No, so it's tough for
tonight,
me
no.
to say. It's
None.
tough for me to
Not even
say that
close.
that's gonna continue.
It's not going to continue. It's just in a vacuum. It sucks. Bobby, what did Missoula have to say about this?
So Joe is adamant that it was an aberration. This stuff happens, and you assess everything, and you say, "Is this an off night?" And that's what he came to. Yeah, he said he was adamant that they competed, they intended to win in this game. He almost was on the defensive in a way against, any notion that they didn't show up or, didn't compete in this game, that they gave up, right? In terms of why he sat the starters, he gave a vague answer.
What was that?
He said he had to do what was best for the team.
Which is fair. Did they get good shots, though?
I don't think so, especially
No,
Jalen
does
early.
Joe believe they did?
I think he thought they played well. Like they intended
What?
to.
Wait, repeat that. They didn't even play Bobby. How could they have played well?
Right. I that's why I come away from this very confused by his response to this game. He
But
was
these guys-
adamant that they came in and competed and intended to, battle here, but that didn't play out on the court clearly. You know what I mean? Like it was just a no-show for some reason or another. Maybe it's as simple as fatigue, but we've watched a lot of games, John, on this show, and we've seen this team play back-to-backs. This team historically plays well in back-to-back.
Yes,
Even
that's
while
what I
sitting
mean.
Horford.
I
So
think
this
this
is different.
I
Maybe
think
it's the
this
caliber
was
of the opponent. Maybe it was the fact that the Bucks were off since Monday.
a perfect storm. Bucks off. Bucks came out wanting to send a message. Bucks were red hot. Giannis was fierce, and
Bucks have been playing like crap though.
they were, but they came out tonight.
They were
and
firing, and they
were
just kept going.
firing, and they never let up. And like I said, before the Celtics knew
They
they were
smell
in
blood.
before the Celtics knew they were in a fight, they'd been knocked down 3 times in the first round. And it was over.
They smelled
Yeah.
a weak opponent, and they just killed them.
I believe if the Celtics had only gone down like 12 in the first or, and then hung in there and it was like 14, 15, 16, they would have found themselves and made something of it. I just think it got away so fast that it was done. And that was it. It's
Yeah.
done. It's done. Flush it. They did it. Okay.
I'm on to the next one.
On to the next one. Anything else on this game, Bobby, that sticks with you at all?
I have one. How about your boy Cornette? He only logged 9 minutes and he sucked.
Yeah, I mean,
We should talk about it. We should at least
Can we
mention-
also talk about he might be the most likable Celtic that they've had. Blake as well, but he's got to be on the all-time like good teammate list, right? Like they love this dude.
Seems like a great guy, but I mean, he was a huge part of it. I mean, if you want to talk about why they quit in the second half, he was like the main guy out there for that. What was it, 21-0 run in the second quarter? I mean, it was
25.
a tough 25 it ended up being. Sorry.
Is that what it was?
25-0.
Yeah,
That's
John,
bad.
It was really, really bad. Really, really bad.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We've seen
Was the Stay Ready crew ready, Bobby? If the starters are going to fail you as much as they did, could they have not at least turned to the Stay Ready crew and said, guys, for
Hey,
real,
Oh my god.
You can't stay ready if you don't get ready.
guys, for real, like
You didn't get much of a bounce from that
be
group, did you?
ready.
It's safe to say they were not ready for this one.
The narrator, they were not. Was the Stay
Yeah.
Ready crew ready? Narrator, they were not ready.
They were not ready.
They were not.
Shvima Hyluk just came out there firing. Pritchard played
mean,
well, but
That's one
he
word.
was about the only one in this game.
Svima Hyluk is the reason
Cornette
TNT
sucks
switched the
ball.
game.
Yeah, I mean, when you get the game switched on you, that's
That's
bad.
tough.
That's probably about
That's
as low
why I'm
as it
saying
gets.
it was just different tonight. It's a different type of
I'm
different
with you,
type of
Jimmy.
blowout.
This was different, and so your antenna's up. You're watching where this goes, but it's tough to say that they're just gonna go in a tailspin because of this. I do think this
No,
team has
I
pretty
don't
good
think that.
fortitude.
I don't
to
think
be able to
anybody's
move
on
on
I
from
don't
from it.
think that.
Yeah.
I don't think this leads to. This is just like when you say, "Oh, every team gets blown out." This one just feels worse than a blowout loss.
I'm
I
with
know
you.
teams get blown out. I'm not saying, "Oh, it's the start of something bad," or like here's
Not
why,
every
here's
team
10
picks up a
reasons.
25-0 run. That's what it is, right?
Right. But they just didn't have they did not have any fight. They just had no.
There was no competitive plays,
nothing.
John, right? Did anyone take a charge? Did anyone dive on a ball? Did anyone?
No.
They didn't have a chance to in a second.
Yeah.
I mean, they played 15 minutes.
All they could do was catch the ball going through the basket from Milwaukee and inbound it to somebody. Like there weren't
Yeah.
really opportunity to hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they played in that drop, and the Bucks just loved
They
it.
ate them alive, Ugh.
When they targeted Sam and O'Shea, they were all out of rotation. It was just a
Oh, yeah,
mess
yeah.
on both ends tonight. I don't think they got the shots that they wanted. You look at the shot profile in this game; it was really bad. They didn't get to the rim at all. There was no urgency to get downhill. How many free throws did they shoot? Who even cares? But the first half, they only ended up with
The Celtics had way more free
They
throws
had
than
six.
the Bucks.
They had 6
What?
in the first half, though.
Celtics finished with 30 free throws in this game.
Yeah, but 6 in the first half. So
Yeah.
I want to get
1
the
to 16
Bucks.
from 3.
If there's anything you want referees to do is blow a lot of whistles in a 40-point game in the second half and then mix in a Joe Mazzulla challenge as well. That was what was needed. All of that stuff was
Bizarre
important.
game. Truly bizarre.
Bizarre.
So we'll
It was-
see.
How did
it's
the
obvious-
player? We talked about Joe Bobby. How did the players react? Like shrug, it happens, or was there a little bit of shame?
We spoke to Drew, and it was the shrug. It happens. Asked about the schedule and is there a better way the NBA could set up, a stretch like this to not have these kind of games, and he said for sure. So I think the team as a whole made that decision, and we asked, did you guys agree with taking a seat off of that game? And he said sometimes coaches have to make those decisions. They want to go out and compete, but is it a strange decision that they pulled them, or do you think it's just all minutes and load management?
Both.
There?
It was over. It was too far gone, so it's
Yeah.
not strange at that point.
You're down 30 something.
It was over. Over. This.
I've seen
whatever.
guys play through that. It was about load management at that point. There was a lot. There was more
Exactly.
involved.
Like the league won't let you take off these national televised games, so they sent everybody and they played. Honestly, I wonder if Joe's expectations were, guys, let's see where it goes tonight. If it's not there, I wonder if it was almost, I don't know whether it would be predetermined. I think it'd be weird for a coach to say that, but I really do believe that they cared very little about this, the way they approached it overall, and Joe having no problem pulling them and then joking about it to TNT, in the game as well. It seems like they were pretty fine with it.
Joe was adamant that this was an aberration.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. This might be about us, but that's okay. Why are they called Fear the Deer? That's one of the dumbest slogans.
I kind of like it.
What's scary about deer?
Well, that's why they're telling you.
You ever gone head on? You ever gone head on with a 12-point buck?
They're warning
You
you.
might not live to tell about it.
You don't know what a
when you get the
12-point buck is.
when you
Yes,
get the
I
horns.
do. Yes, I damn well do. Yeah, you get the horns.
Did you come out of this game respecting the Bucks a little more?
No. Next question.
I would say. I would say
No, because they
respect.
played. The Celtics is just mad at. They just didn't. There was no effort.
I don't know. Portis is like the X factor. He was playing well. They don't. The Bucks they don't. When I look at their roster, it doesn't really do it for me. But when guys like Portis contribute, when Lopez, hits a couple threes, that Beasley character, Malik Beasley had a solid game too. But Portis 28 off the bench, that was the only thing where I was like,
Yeah,
dude,
awesome.
Deer are prey. They're like the most skittish. Anyway.
John's Googling deer right now to back up his point.
Get some.
Yeah,
facts.
yeah, like a little deer. Yeah, I'm not scared of a little deer, John, but some of those deer grow up to be bucks. Okay, and that's when you don't want to.
Imagine you're a little doe-eyed deer.
No one's scared of a Celtic.
Yeah.
What's the Celtics slogan?
Tonight the Celtics steered clear of the deer, and that is that. They're done.
There you go.
They decided to mail it in, and that's that. And we're done. We're done.
So the season series is tied.
We did way more on this game than we should have.
We did. All right, we'll do this, Bobby. I want to make sure you're okay with it because
I'm on board.
Your eyes glaze over every time we go talk about shit.
No, this is a big
Bobby
one.
has nowhere to go for the next 24 hours.
Yeah, I'll sit here all night tonight.
Okay, ready?
Tons of snacks.
The Bill Belichick report.
So I was in the airport this morning. What was it, 7 a.m. when it dropped?
But it was early.
Yeah, right around there, yeah.
Yeah.
I watched you and Taylor go live after John, and Taylor said that he wasn't surprised at that point. But I do feel like there was a little bit of a like, suspension of belief there for a couple of days where Bill's saying, yeah, I'm coming into work, and Kraft's not saying anything. And again, in the back of your mind, you're like, Kraft would just say he's back if he was back. Like, something's going on here behind the scenes. They're going to part. It's just about how they're going to part at this point. But you did start to wonder as a couple of days go by, are they thinking about it? Are they getting cold feet? The fan base seemed to be growing a little bit more receptive to the idea of him coming back. And there he goes in a kind of anticlimactic resignation alongside Kraft there. And I thought Kraft was good today, because he kind of talked about it, John, right, as more of a firing, which is what it was.
Yeah.
But, Bill just came to the podium and, said his few words, and there he goes. So, Jimmy, you don't have a captain anymore, right? Who's the boss here? Who's in charge? Guess it's going to be Mayo, but who's the GM on top of him? I mean, this is what people were talking about. Once Bill goes, where are you going next? I don't think that's any reason to keep him, but it still does leave that uncertainty into the future.
That is different than that's different than your Brad Stevens stance, I do want to point out.
Because it's a different situation.
But you were like, where are they going to go next? And, who are they going to get? And I do think, my belief is still, when the marriage has gone bad, you're not worried about who your next wife is going to be. You just know you want out of this. And I think they knew that they were done here. And you have to factor in, Kraft respected Bill and was grateful for everything they did. He didn't like him. Bill treated him like a nobody. I definitely don't think, this is a problem. I think, Bill kicked a lot of people's dogs, walking around the building there. And
many pugs.
Yep. So, I'm not super surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if people around the building were like, we're so tired of him. He's exhausting. Can we please get someone in? And I'm going to guess that the players are going to rally around Mayo like crazy. And almost every positive Mayo comment is going to be like all of the Bill O'Brien comments at the beginning of this year, which were basically, subtweets of Matt Patricia or just commentary on the previous regime. I think you're going to get a lot of, we feel more trusted and, part of things and, someone who gets us. And I think the players are going to like it. But you said it, Bobby. Who's making the decisions far more important than the X and O stuff?
Do you think they have a plan?
Yeah, and I think it's a shitty, boring one of bringing somebody shitty and boring in. And then we're just going to roll the dice and hope that the guy doesn't draft as bad as Bill.
Who's the GM? Someone in the building?
No. I mean, Elliot Wolf, I know is a name that's kind of been talked about.
Elliot Wolf.
Yeah.
Fear the Wolf.
He is within the building, director of scouting. I know that he's been floated as a potential. I don't know if there's outside guys who are in there, but you feel like if you go with an internal candidate in the succession plan in Sherrod Mayo, I feel like you're just going to obviously bring somebody into that position who is fine with the Mayo thing. Imagine going out and hiring a top shelf GM, or a guy who wants control and wants to do it right and do the Red Sox thing and being like, but you got to work with our coach. I feel like it has to be somebody kind of tied in tight.
What happened to Vrabel?
I don't know if he was ever really an option. The way it was described with Mayo today was, and a lot of the reporting is gone, is that they already filed this paperwork with the league last year. And as part of a succession plan, which kind of allows them to circumvent, regular hiring practices, Rooney Rule, going through the motions here. They already kind of filed a succession plan saying we've already vetted who our next coach is going to be. He's in the building. And if and when we move on from Bill, we're going to most likely hire this guy. And that's kind of what it sounds like. So it's Mayo, and it's been Mayo, and it's always been Mayo. And Mayo walked around the building knowing he's the next head coach of the Patriots. So I don't know that any other person was considered. I have to think they probably paused for a second when Vrabel got let go and thought, that is interesting. But they were way too far down the road with Mayo. I said this on a couple of shows. I think they screwed this one up bad because Mayo was supposed to come in. It's not that Mayo wouldn't have been a good successor to Bill, assuming everything didn't go rotten. The idea was that Mayo would
follow up Bill when he broke Shula's record and was finally done, and he was going to stop coaching, and he would leave, and they would just give it to this guy who's been learning under the greatest of all time. But it went to crap, and now you're like, oh my God, I gotta hire this guy now because I've already kind of told him I want to, even if you did want a fresh start and realized everything. So they were I think they locked themselves into this decision last year, which is why it sounds like it's not even a conversation.
It's been a weird week, which caps off a very weird season. I did go to the game on Sunday.
Good for you, by the way. How much was your ticket?
$40, which is actually more than I could have paid, but I took an end zone seat. Went to the game because I had a feeling that it was going to be Bill's last game. And even though I've been a huge Bill critic over the last 4 years, 5, and deservedly so, might I add, I wanted to go, 1, because it was snowing out and those games are a lot of fun, which it was. And 2, I thought it might have been Bill's last game. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go just to see. I thought maybe they'd show Bill on the Jumbotron, or the big video screen. I thought maybe they'd be not that it's like a foregone conclusion that he's gone, but give the fans something to cheer about. There was nothing to cheer about in terms of the game. It was one of the ugliest games I've ever seen.
Isn't that strange if they kind of knew they were moving on?
Feels like Bill must have told them, don't show me or something. I can't imagine why it would have been a Patriots decision.
Yeah.
Somebody had to have told the whole production team of the whole stadium not to put the camera, not to go to Bill at any moment, because not once did they. Bill wore like this outrageous, like it was like he was trudging through Antarctica.
It's like Darth Vader.
Looked like Darth Vader. Didn't want to acknowledge the
had
fans.
The mask up.
Yeah.
Didn't even take it down for the handshakes. I know he was sick.
Never wanted to be seen. Let me finish here. Never wanted to be seen. Never wanted to be talked to. Post game, didn't want to say boo to the reporters, as is standard procedure. Today, didn't want to say a word. Just so many. It felt like a lot of different FUs were given by Bill. Deactivated Mac, which I thought was one last FU to Mac. Not having Mac on the active roster, on the game day roster, and activating some absolute no-name quarterback that I couldn't even tell you what his name is. Guy probably won't ever take a snap in the NFL, when clearly Mac is obviously a better quarterback than whoever that guy is. Not saying much, but let's be honest. I thought that was another FU. A lot of weird things happened. I had come around on the idea that Bill could still coach, because we know he can still coach. We've coached the defense up greatly, but he sabotaged the offense this year. And in doing so, maybe
on purpose,
maybe more so than he thought, John. And in doing so, self-sabotaged himself, because he actually ended up being worse than even he could save. We knew he can still coach, but he cannot find or pick or draft or sign talent. There's countless examples of this that we could sit here for another 3 hours and make. We won't. The idea that Bill was going to give up GM duties, and again, give up the idea that he was, the chef and putting in all the ingredients, and still coach, was just a pie in the sky idea, because ultimately Bill was not going to allow that to happen. He was not going to do that and make it seem like he was, demoted, right? He was not going to allow somebody to come in and make the personnel.
Yeah, that was never going to happen.
And him just coach, because if that was the case, he would have just been way too arrogant about it. And he would have made it a point to almost like show why this guy sucked. You signed this guy, you drafted this guy, and he sucks, and here's why. And I'm just, and then all year would have been like little subtle shots at how he's just coaching. He's doing whatever he can to coach. So it couldn't have worked. And now ultimately they made the decision where if he couldn't do it all, he was going to leave. And I think if you just go back to the last handful of years here of him with the power to do both, he can't do it anymore. So he'll go to some other team, and maybe he will get a GM role there as well. And honestly, I would not be too confident if I was that team that Bill's the guy that's going to pick the right players, sign the right players, draft the right players. He can still coach, but I don't think that he has that talent evaluation ability that he used to have anymore. And I don't think the guys that he had around him do either. That was the other problem. If you wanted to start new and you were going to you're going to draft a young quarterback, who's teaching this guy how to be a quarterback? Is it Bill, who hasn't been able to do it in a number of years, hasn't brought in anybody even remotely close that's been able to get through to this offense of these quarterbacks. So I think, again, and the word that I always come back to is it's bittersweet. And I'm a guy that, and everybody here is a guy that, grew up watching this team be the best, grew up watching Bill and Tom, the best tandem that ever was. And it's hard to admit or come to grips with the fact that it's completely over. And there's a chance that we might not ever even sniff a Super Bowl again. It's hard to come to terms with that. So it's like compartmentalizing the good old days with the idea that change had to happen at this point.
I think
It
that's
just
the
had
right.
to.
I think that's honestly the only look. There's some people out there who are still kind of like, now they should have kept him, and I'm sure everyone's entitled to that opinion. But I think you're holding on to, like you do with players, past performance and this and that. And look, this happened with Brad. Geez, how long did people hang on to that one?
And there was no history there either.
And there was no history. Like Belichick's a much harder one to let go of. But I think the correct take is exactly what you said there, Jimmy.
Wow.
No, but I mean, I think that's look, I don't want to tell people how to feel, but I think that's the most reasonable one, is that he's the greatest ever, and you want to be able to salute that and acknowledge it and recognize still that change had to happen. And I think holding on to it was more fear of the unknown, and you're so used to this, and it was a great security blanket, and it gave you such a huge edge over the competition for so long. Knowing that you don't have it anymore is a little bit scary, and maybe those residual feelings are the reason why people don't want it. Real quick, I wanted to play this. Joe Mazzulla did, you got that coaching fraternity thing that goes on, and a lot of the coaches do kind of acknowledge and respect one another and the job that they do, and sometimes they lean on each other for advice. I know Joe had gone to Patriots training camp during the summer to check in on Bill. It's a pretty regular thing, and Bobby asked Joe for his comments on Bill, and here's what he had to say pregame.
I mean, I don't have a reaction to that. I think I just have a reaction to, Bill as a coach, as a friend, as one of the best coaches of all time, and just what he's been able to do. Thankful for the relationship that him and I have built, and gotten to learn from him, gotten to talk to him, and it just kind of, to me, when you see things like yesterday, whether it's Coach Belichick, whether it's Nick Saban, it's like if coaching defines you, it can be an unhealthy life. It could be really stressful, and you could be the best ever, and there's a shelf life. There's a shelf life on your career. There's a shelf life on being with one particular team. And to me, the most inspiring thing about yesterday was Nick Saban has won so much, and he's walked away after losing in the college playoff. And to me, that's inspiring as a coach, because you're not going to be defined by winning. You don't have to stick around too long and chase another one. And I think when you see guys that go through coaching changes or slumps, or one, it's easy to forget how hard it is to be a coach. Two, it's easy to take for granted long-term success. And three, it's just we're normal guys that have a job and try to do the best we can. So just grateful for the relationship and the standard that he sets.
You can't see this, but he was wearing a cutoff hoodie in that presser. You can't see you can't see the rest of his arms to see that it's cut off there.
Really?
Yeah. But
he did wear a cutoff hoodie.
He was wearing a cutoff hoodie, which is cool.
Show of respect.
It's a show of respect. And so like I said, you can't see it. The frame's a little tight there, but that's what he was wearing prior to the game. And obviously a shout out.
You wish you could have had a happy ending here, certainly, and at least more opportunity to celebrate him, but
he wasn't going to let it happen. Exactly. And you know what, Bobby? That day will probably come, right? I mean, when he goes into the Patriots Hall of Fame someday and all that stuff, and the NFL Hall of Fame, he will get his time to shine, just like Brady did. And that kind of brings me back to my point that I've been hammering for a while. For a lot of people, they're finally ready to admit that Bill has lost his fastball. 5 seasons ago, even longer than that, he was losing his fastball. When he made Brady the lame duck quarterback, that was when, in my opinion, Bill had lost his mind, because he had put a shit roster around Brady. They had one of the worst you want to talk about Vrabel? that Tennessee team that wasn't even any good at all beat they essentially ended the dynasty in the playoffs. They knocked Tom out of the pick six to end basically Tom's Patriots career.
Yep.
Guess how many playoff games the Titans won after that, John? 1. So everyone wants to honk Vrabel's horn. I don't get it. I think Vrabel's been a pretty mediocre at best, borderline bad coach. I mean, the Titans haven't won anything ever, really.
He's got I don't think he's had great talent. He has a leader of men sort of thing. But again, I don't think he's a realistic candidate, so I don't think it really matters.
Let me just finish. I don't want to go off on that tangent,
Yeah.
but that just happened to pop into my mind.
Yeah.
Listen, Vrabel, the player, was great, and yeah, leader of men and all that stuff, but I don't know if he's got the brains to be a head coach. He might be a great DC and all that. He might be a good guy to have around a team. I just don't know if he's got head coach capabilities. But that being said, when Bill put that roster around Tom and refused to extend Tom for the very, very, very low price of 2 years, $25 million a year, that's when I said, what the hell is going on here with Bill? He's got a shit team, shit roster. He's getting rid of his quarterback, and he has no plan B to back up Brady at this point. And that's when the wheels fell off. A lot of people did not want to accept that. They said, in Bill we trust, when they kicked Brady out the door. And a lot of people say, oh, Brady chose to leave. Brady didn't choose to leave. Brady was forced out the door. And he was basically told, here's the door, go. We're going to frame it like you're leaving. And Brady, being the guy he was, didn't go out kicking and screaming. Instead, he went and won a Super Bowl.
No, he went crying to Robert Kraft's house and told him he was leaving. Like, it was, I mean,
he didn't have a choice at that point, John.
I'm not knocking him. Bill legitimately broke Brady's heart, like,
of course. And the worst part is, aside from the fact that it's Tom Brady and you pretty much everyone owes their life to him, especially Bill, it wasn't like a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation. There was no successor. They literally signed Cam freaking Newton. There was no plan. So again, I think that's when we started to see Bill's arrogance really get to a point where it was actually starting to hurt the team. And at that point, I was kind of out on Bill and out on the direction that the Patriots are going for a number of years. It took some fans a little bit longer to get there. But at this year, and at the conclusion of this year, again, when the Jets are in the end zone doing snow angels, that was like the poetic ending to this era. Because how did it start?
Right.
With the Patriots doing snow angels in the end zone after Vinatieri's field goal against the Raiders in the playoffs. So when I saw that happening, and again, I was there, I couldn't help but note the parallels. It was so sad in a sense, but it was just so like, enough is enough. Enough people need to understand what's going on here, and we need to stop this madness because we are torpedoing into a black hole.
Honestly, the Brady's a singular thing, and it's the biggest thing. But I think all of the other
that was
stuff,
the first thing to me.
I know, but I think the rest of it was the bigger issue of just kind of not evolving and being stuck in his ways. What made Bill great is ultimately what ended up being his undoing. He did things his way, and his way was different and innovative and ahead of the curve until it became the same thing, and and everybody else had moved on, and he was still kind of doing it the Bill way. And I'd say the
game is passing him by.
It's not the game, because he's still a brilliant strategist. He understands football tactics.
But part of it is more than that.
A couple things happened. He got old, and old people don't want to deal with as much bullshit. And the thing that was the most damning thing that I ever heard out of Bill's mouth was when he did that thing with Saban, that show, that special, and he said, at this stage of my career, I really just want to coach the guys I want to coach. And I was like, what the does that mean? Like, you want to
try to make it work?
No, dude, this is a talent-based game. You need big, fast, strong dudes, and if they can't, then you mold them into what you want. You don't go get a bunch of Jordan Richardsons and be like, this guy's smart, he'll figure it out. Like, too many.
So this is where it's gonna get better with Mayo. That you don't have the ego factor to this degree. and you have a much better relationship factor there, which is important with younger guys and,
Yes,
prospects
I'm
that
with
you're going to
Bobby.
be bringing in. So you might lose a little bit with the football acumen,
Red
but
Sox.
you were losing much more with the ego that was getting in the way with Bill clearly there. I mean,
Yeah.
just look at the dumb decisions they made off what had to have just been ego, like Myers and, the other situations they've had where they've just felt like they could get by.
It's
And
baffling,
couldn't.
Bobby. It's baffling. And
A lot
I
of
mean,
it
the
was baffling.
quarterback thing alone is.
I mean,
Well,
the coaching thing last year was probably.
Well, John, you made a good point in our group chat, and I don't know if you want to repeat it, but just about how different ways Bill has said, screw you guys, and going into the OC situation.
Oh yeah, like I said,
That alone, you got an extra chance because you're Bill off that, but anyone else would have been fired over that.
Bill made him hire O'Brien, and like
Kraft
I said,
made them hire.
Kraft made Bill hire O'Brien and elevate Mayo and basically anoint Mayo's successor. And what did Bill do in response? He gave Sherrod no additional power or responsibility. He still had him answering to his kid, essentially. And then
no title.
He's walking around the building as the freaking linebackers coach after the owner said Sherrod is a super important, integral, basically the next coach of our team. And Bill's like, that's cool. Stay with the linebackers. And then he brings in O'Brien, and he doesn't draft a single a single offensive player until a bunch of crap guards in the 4th round. Doesn't let him bring in his assistants, and basically is like, you and Mac figure it out. Doesn't hire anybody, gets rid of Mac's favorite receiver, and it was borderline on sabotage.
And what was going on with the offensive line? I know you, Jimmy. I heard you say
no tackles, nothing.
But
Trent
no,
Brown
even
will
the
tell you all
coaching.
about it.
Even the coaching situation, there was like a player and one of the assistants just coming up with new stuff on the fly, according to the Herald article there.
The Herald article that said that there was just so much upheaval in that whole.
It was messy, and again, it was just kind of like, I think Bill just took his ball and went home and said, you think I can't figure out offense? You guys handle it. I got the defense, and the defense was competitive, and the offense absolutely tanked once again because it was completely neglected, both in terms of personnel, the coaching behind the scenes, O'Brien not able to bring in his own guys, and absolutely zero talent. Not only talent not added, talent lost.
I just can't, you know what I can't figure out? And this is just one thing that I don't know how Bill could ever defend it, but like it had to be by far like the worst quarterback room, like borderline ever. I mean, there was
no attention paid to it.
There wasn't one capable quarterback in that whole entire room. And then, Bobby, what do we see the Browns go out and do? They go out and sign Joe Flacco off the street, and that's a team with a really good defense. Granted, they do have a great offensive, a couple great offensive weapons that the Patriots don't have. But my point is, if the Patriots had such a good defense and they were a quarterback away, or a player or two, a skill player or two away from really kind of competing in the AFC East, that was wide open. There's really not that many great teams in the AFC East. How could Bill be so clueless and inept to put that quarterback room together? How do you not bring in, again, this is another probably FU to Mac Jones. How do you not bring in a guy that Mac Jones can learn from? If clearly Mac Jones doesn't have a firm grasp on this starting
They just
role,
had guys coming in and out.
Exactly. I mean, Mac, how many times did Mac get pulled this year? Like 6? And they never. And again, you can say what you want about Zappy, and he's a good story, and he made a couple of nice plays, but Zappy is not a starting quarterback in the NFL either. He's not a top 32 quarterback in the league. You could have gone out and spent a little extra maybe on a legitimate backup quarterback if you weren't sold on Mac. But it goes back to what John says. Was Bill just more set on just middle finger to Kraft and middle finger to everybody who said he needed to bring in this coach and he needed to elevate this coach? And I just can't. That's why I'm so out on Bill, is because I'm like, I don't know if this guy is with us or against us at this point. He's so reckless in what he's done, where I honestly don't know.
So many ulterior motives. You just couldn't have that anymore.
It was weird. I do think that the relationship was strained as well, because I don't think he, the reports where he didn't necessarily treat Kraft with a lot of respect. So I think it was actually
to Jonathan too, I imagine.
Oh my goodness!
He said one word to the
Jonathan
guy.
has friggin' Bill Belichick dolls at home that he just rams pins and knives into. So no
Oh
doubt
my
about it.
God.
I got to say, I'm glad you guys got a bite at this apple. I've been talking about this too much and I'm gassed. So I got to wrap up the Bill talk as well. And it's back-to-back Celtics nights.
Yeah,
if,
no, I
if
needed
you,
to just get it off my chest.
if you guys have nothing else, I am going to retire from this show. Are you guys good?
Yep.
All right,
get
guys.
outta here.
Thank you guys
Somehow.
for doing that.
Bobby's gonna
Ime-
get on with this day.
Ime is in town. Bobby's got to figure out if he can get home tomorrow. It's
You
not
might be
again.
covering the email day, John.
Oh no, I'm gone, baby. I'm not here on Saturday, so you got to.
Bobby, you better start working flights, my friend.
Yep.
Okay,
like,
this is planes, trains, and automobiles.
yeah.
Get your way home.
To Home Alone, was it Home Alone 1 where the woman can't get home and she just jumps in the back of a van with the traveling band? There's got to be a couple bands heading this way from the Midwest to Boston, Bobby.
I'm probably
Hop
gonna
in
go
the
to
back.
Chicago.
Little road trip. You got time.
Yes.
Chicago, I told you, Chicago's not going to get you out of that airport. What do we
That's all
got?
I got.
Snow? What do we got? Snow, wind. What's it calling for tomorrow?
Yeah, 10 inches and wind.
Wow.
All right, Bobby, you got 48 hours, buddy. We'll see you when we see you.
See you Saturday.
Everyone who joined us, thank you guys for hanging out. We do appreciate it. We will see you guys over the weekend. Ime back in town. We'll see what that reaction is. One coach leaves, an old one comes back. Jimmy's going to extend the show. So, go ahead.
One thing, and I need both of your opinions on this. Ime comes back Saturday. Cheers or booze? What do you think he gets, and what would you do?
Cheers.
I'll start with you, Bobby.
Cheers on both.
John?
I think it's a coach. I think it'll be so it's not the same as like a player in terms of reaction. I don't believe, right or wrong, there's that much animosity towards Ime for that. I think people kind of just accepted that it was a thing that happened and it was in the judgment of the Celtics without the benefit of all the information. I don't think people have. Some people do for sure. I don't think across the board there's going to be a strong visceral negative reaction to Ime because, as we said, is they never really, kind of really got it. They're like, okay, I guess something happened. It wasn't good and had to move on. And that was what they did. So I don't believe the fans are going to be like, F this guy. I think there's as many people, and again, right or wrong, who are annoyed with the Celtics and how they handled it as they are not annoyed, but kind of wish the Celtics didn't do that. So again, I'm not really sure how it's going to go down.
I'm booing.
I don't believe they will boo.
Jimmy's been adamant about this.
I'm the type of fan where I will boo your ass because at the end of the day, and maybe it worked out fine for the Celtics, and they're in a great place now, and you're not like jealous of Ime coaching the Rockets, but at the end of the day, he effed you. He effed you last year. He put you in a bad position. He might be one of the reasons why you didn't win a championship last year, even though you can blame another number of other reasons. I think he betrayed. I think if you're a fan, you can kind of think of it like he betrayed you a little bit. Whether or not you think he deserved getting fired, he obviously did something that to the only people that it really mattered to was enough to be removed from the organization. And if that's the case, then if you're a Celtics fan, you boo his ass on Saturday. You make him feel uncomfortable. You say mean, keep it in line, but you should say things because Ime, at the end of the day, selfishly did whatever the hell he wanted and put himself before the team. And if
people don't have
coach,
information, which is the challenging part. And
all the information we have, Bobby, is that whatever he did was enough for the Celtics to say you're out. And that happened a week before the freaking preseason started. He put the team in a very bad position last year. They didn't win the championship. And if I'm a Celtics fan and I'm at the game, I'm having a good time, I'm gonna boo the other team, and I'm gonna boo their head coach, especially because he screwed us a couple years ago. And yeah, we're fine
fair
now.
point,
we
because
don't need
they were in a really good position coming out of 2022.
The guys wanted to play for Ime, Bobby. They didn't, they're fine. I'm sure they're happy to play for Joe Mazzulla now, but you can
it was a challenge.
You can tell how hurt they were. You can tell how shocked they were, how how hurt they were, how mad they were. Maybe they were mad at Ime. Maybe they were mad at the team.
Remember
Whatever the case
Al at
may
the end of
be.
that year saying we had a lot of stuff going on.
Exactly. There was a lot going on, and it wasn't the right stuff going on. And so
I like
that
the
was a
take.
huge distraction. I'm team boo Ime.
Yeah, I just think you're going to be balancing that against the obvious good things he did for.
What did
the
he do?
roster.
He wasn't even here. He wasn't even here long.
He brought them to the finals, Jimmy.
And they lost, and they blew it, Bobby. They freaking blew it. That's what he did, okay? So at the end of the day, he's a tiny blip on the Celtics organization history. He's a nobody when you talk about the history of this organization. He will not come up in
Joe
any
praised him
stories.
tonight.
Well, what's he going to do? What's Joe going to do? I mean, I obviously understand that Joe would praise him. He's an Ime guy, and he's in the position because of Ime. So, yeah, he owes Ime a lot. But from an organizational standpoint, Ime is a skid mark on the whole thing. He's nothing. So, yeah, I would boo him. I wouldn't feel bad at all. That's just me.
Where are you going, John?
He already said he's going to cheer him. He's going to have John's bringing green palm.
I wouldn't react. I was more saying what the fans do.
John would stay in concessions during the intros.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there are going to be those people, too, that don't care either way. And that's fine, too. But
get to the game late because obviously they're not going to play it up. They're going to say his name in the intros, and that's going to be it.
Oh, for sure. They're gonna try to.
There won't be a video or anything like that. Yeah.
Right,
all right. Bye.
But he's the last one called, I think, in the intros. If I'm not mistaken.
Coach of the Rockets email though.
Yeah, and then that's when I want to hear the boos.
Well,
down.
it's
Eddie Palladino.
What's more interesting?
The old Garden would boo him off the freaking court.
What's more interesting is how the Celtics handle it, and whether they try to, as you said, they didn't put Belichick up on the jumbotron at the game. Ime Udoka may have. I'm curious how the broadcast handles it. Will they do a lot of talk? Will they talk about it? Will they interview it when they ask it? When they bring on? How do you not do an opposing coach interview? How do you not try to get Ime? How do they ask those questions? About that. You've got, Abby and those guys, they're team employees. Drew Scal, they're team employees. Are they gonna talk to them? Are they going to show cutaways as a production truck being told? Don't show a lot of Ime cutaways. What's
the crowd's gonna be on them?
What's the mandate?
I think.
What's the mandate from the Celtics on down? I'm very curious on that.
I think they're going to want to They're going to want to minimize it for sure. Now, it would be almost. It would be almost unprofessional to not at least acknowledge, what the history of Ime. I mean, you can't talk about Ime and not mention the fact that he used to coach the Celtics and not obviously mention the fact how he was let go from the organization. You don't need to go into details on what may or may not have happened, but of course they're going to have to acknowledge the brief history. Now, I don't expect the Celtics I don't expect the broadcast to constantly be zooming in on Ime because they don't want any more attention to pay to it than anybody would.
I think the majority of I think there's a faction of people out there who I think are going to kind of piece together what they think went down and think this doofus, this goofball, this guy could, did this to himself. He deserves he deserves everything that's coming at him. No question about it. I think some people are horrified over the idea that he, kind of created this toxic workplace culture by engaging in inappropriate relationships.
There you go.
And the power dynamic that's at play with all of those things. There's plenty of people who are going to be in that camp. I think your base Celtics fan, their vibe is, I like this guy better than Joe. I wish we still had him.
This goes back to our
That's what I think most Celtics fans think. I'm being honest about that.
Yeah, that might be true, John, but that's never going to happen. So you might as well just boo his ass because he made that not happen.
So it's a weird thing because you're kind of saying, I don't really care about the impropriety if you cheer. So I don't believe there will be a lot of cheers. I think it will be a fairly muted reaction. That's my belief because
I think we gotta cheer.
You're outing yourself.
What are you cheering for?
You're outing yourself by cheering as someone who's not bothered by what went down. I don't think people will do that.
Bobby, you don't cheer for losing. What did he accomplish?
I mean, they went
He
from
accomplished
losing.
blowing the NBA Finals. Congratulations. The Celtics are up 3-2.
Listen, I mean, a
I
lot
think
of
you're in
the-
the minority, Jimmy. I think most people thought he was an excellent coach. He
A
was
lot of the
largely.
things
He
he
was,
instilled.
and then he blew
I
it.
think people think he was largely responsible for the culture turnaround here. He was the
Yeah.
guy who kicked lazy people in the ass and said, "You're going to play hard." He got a
All
team.
those things are
He
true.
got a team to buy into defense, and I think that this team was frigging walking dead until Ime put his stamp on it, and then they got good, and then everybody was really bullish about what was going to happen the next year, and then
And then what happened?
he did what he did. So
Okay, so that's what I'm talking about.
you could be mad about it, but I think most people are not. I think most people are like, I liked this guy as the coach, and that's their view.
That's what people are
Yeah,
going to be cheering for, Jimmy. They're going to
I
separate
liked
it.
this coach. That's how they'll view it.
Yeah, I liked him, and then he went and he stuck his hand in the cookie jar, and then he got caught.
I don't think people think that way. That's what I'm saying. But you might, and that you could boo, but I don't believe most people do.
I would boo.
Yeah.
Because you can like him and say how great he was all you want. He screwed you over in the end.
I would neither cheer. My stance is I would be silent. He doesn't deserve my applause because he's not. I agree.
The silent majority.
He's
John
not-
Zannis for the first time in his life.
He's not someone who to be celebrated because he doesn't have a series of accomplishments.
Well, Bobby's take is that you should celebrate him.
But I'm not gonna sit and I'm gonna boo him either. I would be if I were at the game, I would just kind of sit there, hands folded, and say do
Listen,
nothing.
I'm not
And
saying spend 48 minutes booing him, but when his name gets announced, I think he deserves.
Jimmy, you didn't even want to go an hour tonight. You will not let me end this stream. My light went out. We gotta go.
I've made my point.
Bye.
You've
Many
made-
points. You've made
You
many
may start your own
points.
podcast.
I made my point.
Many points.
Boo Belichick when he comes back to Gillette. Boo Ime on Saturday. Boo all these bums.
Boo all of them. Boo
More on
Johnny
the
Davis.
Boo
more on the
Earns.
Jimmy John.
Huh?
Boo Earns.
Did you
What'd
just
you
ask
say?
me another question?
You said we could talk about it on the Jimmy John
Yeah.
podcast.
Oh, good. Okay, God. I
Yeah.
thought we were opening up another avenue for
How
discussion.
about this guy?
Bye, people.
Yeah.
Amit, did you make Jimmy's closing montage?
He's not
No,
here.
I'm going to sleep. That's fine. I'll let him sleep this one off. But maybe by next week we'll have something. We'll give him a weekend. to work on.
All right, we will see you guys later. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for enduring our Belichick talk, which transitioned to Ime talk. Ime coming to the Garden on Saturday. Bobby will be
Boo.
down there. Garden reports to follow.
Bobby's going to have his
Boo.
Ime jersey on.
Bye.